Next speaker is Tami Reiss, an expert on influence-driven leadership. She is a keynote speaker, corporate trainer, and the CEO of Leader Within, who helps leaders master influence and maximize impact. She shares her knowledge in accessible ways worldwide.
Hi, I'm Tami from Miami, and I'm here to help you make influence your superpower. When I said Tami from Miami, what came to mind? Did you think palm trees? Ooh, that's a good one. I should put that in. Did anyone think of South Beach and clubbing? Did anyone think of Disney World and Orlando? These are common things people think about. But what most people don't think about is the Space Coast. Florida is where Blue Origin and NASA and SpaceX launch all of their rockets. People come from around the world to be launched into space from a little place called Cape Canaveral, Florida. And my husband and I, we take our kids up there because to be there for a rocket launch is incredible. The booming sound as a rocket lifts off from Earth towards infinite space, the vibrations that you feel in the ground, there's nothing like it. And it turns out you can see this from all over the state. And I remember being a child, and in primary school, one day, our entire school was brought to our north-facing parking lot to watch a space shuttle because there was a teacher on board. And I remember the 10, 9, 8, and then watching this white pillar of clouds go up into the sky. Etched in my brain, blue skies. Look how blue this sky is. White pillar. And then there were some extra white clouds. And there was a different feeling in the crowd. Our teachers had this fright-filled gasp. And for those of you that are a little older or have studied design thinking, you may have now realized that I'm talking about the Challenger disaster. I, as a child, watched it live in front of my eyes. And you'll see it in a second or so, too. And this explosion, this disaster, this tragedy, not only killed the 7 astronauts on board, forever changing their families' lives, but it also killed the space shuttle program for many years. Many, many years. When bad things happen, it's hard to recover. It's hard to come back from them. Later in life, when I learned more about Challenger, I asked, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? And NASA cared a lot about this, and they did a lot of studies. And what they learned was that a very, very small piece of rubber, an O-ring, which is just a circle made out of rubber, failed. And it failed because that morning it was too cold. And the worst part about this was that it turned out for over a decade, NASA engineers and the engineers involved in building the space shuttles and the rockets knew that there was temperatures that the O-rings would not perform well at. And the night before the launch, there were engineers who sounded the alarm and said, we should not launch. The O-rings might fail. There's a chance they might fail. Maybe they might fail. And it was not said in a way that got escalated up the chain of command to the people who could actually stop the launch. The people who could stop the launch were never informed about the conversations that were happening on these lower levels. It ended up changing the way NASA works and their change of command because this was a failure, an obvious failure of people higher up not listening and not having vehicles to listen to the people on the ground. This happens other times too. And it isn't only just a project that fails. Sometimes an entire company fails. In the 90s and 2000s, video rentals was a primary form of entertainment for a lot of people. And if you are one of my fellow Gen X or millennial, earlier millennial people, you may remember To Be Kind and Rewind, or that mad rush to the store when you had to return the video before you were going to incur a horrible late fee. This was the reality. And Blockbuster Video was the king of video rentals. And they made a lot of money off of our late fees. And in the 2000s, and things started to shift. The internet showed up. Videos started showing up on the internet. There was a very long loading screen, right? We remember the circles of loading. And Blockbuster was aware of this small company called Netflix. But they weren't afraid of them. They thought they would continue their dominance. And I want you to be aware that it wasn't everyone at Blockbuster. Similar to at NASA, there were people who said, something's wrong here. We need to be planning for the future. There was a guy named John who spearheaded Blockbuster.com and a variety of other changes. But in the end, the board said, nope, we're cool with things the way they are. They suffered from the innovator's dilemma. They had a cash cow in these video rentals and in the late fees, and they didn't want to give it up. Classic innovator's dilemma. Because Netflix and chill came for them. As everyone learned to Netflix and chill, Blockbuster went down and down and down. And a company that was formerly worth billions was all of a sudden worth nothing. The company disappeared. Not just a product, not just a program. What's different about this story and the Challenger disaster story? Is it because it's corporate versus this? No one actually died, it's just a company losing money? The bigger difference is that John should have been able to influence the board. He should have been able to influence the other executives. He should have been able to do that because his title was CEO. CEO. He should have been able to do it. But it turns out that better title does not equal better influence. No matter what your title is, it doesn't mean that you can ignore the impact of influence. Command and control, titles, positions, etc., they only get us so far. Influence is actually what you need as a superpower to get things moving. Because influence inspires, influence motivates, influence excites. Influence makes us want to do something. It makes us bring our best selves to the work. As I've been telling these stories, how many of you started thinking about that time when you knew something, good or bad? You knew that feature that was about to be launched, users weren't gonna love it. Or maybe you're like me and you pitched an initiative that was going to make your company $52 million and it didn't go anywhere. And why did it not go anywhere? Does the company not want to make $52 million? No, but in 2008, as an associate product manager, the senior vice president of product development at Farmers Insurance didn't really believe me. I didn't know then how to elevate my voice in a way that made him listen, that excited him, that captivated him. And I want you to know that this plays out everywhere. If you've ever raised a red flag that this new hire just doesn't feel right. There's something in my gut that doesn't feel right about them. And then when they start, everything starts going wrong. And you're like, ah, if only they had listened. You get to say these 4 magical words that feel so good. I told you so. I told you so. Told you so. I told you so. And it feels so good. It's gratifying, it's self-satisfying. It just, yeah, for like 3 seconds. Because after those 3 seconds, you realize you've just invested 6 months of time in a product that failed. Your company might not get that next round of investment. Your company might be out of business. Your team might not be there anymore. Because the blame of I told you so and you didn't listen quickly turns to shame. Shame that I couldn't elevate my voice in a way that made you listen. I couldn't captivate you. I couldn't excite you. I couldn't sound the red alarms in your head the way they were going on in my head. I couldn't influence you. I couldn't sell you on what I knew to be true. It's on me, not on you. And so I want you to recognize that everyone sells something. Your dentist sells you that you need to fill your cavity. Your doctor sells you that you need to take your blood pressure medication. And each of us sells somebody something. If we're engineers, we might be selling that we want to shift to microservices architecture or use some new technology like AI. If you're a designer, you sell that a user flow is going to make your users engaged and happy and delighted. We sell all the time, but none of us are trained in sales. R&D teams don't take sales training in the way the go-to-market team does. We aren't taught to bring in decision makers and have them sign on the dotted line. We aren't taught about something called consultative selling, which involves asking questions about customer and prospective customers' needs and sharing how the solution is valuable to them. This might start sounding like user research to you, and it turns out everybody in R&D has the ability to sell. And I want you to tap into that. And I want you to build that muscle, and I want it to become your superpower. Because I want you to never have to say, I told you so. Because that self-gratifying feeling is so fleeting. We don't need it. We don't need I told you so. What we need is success. And I want to help you be successful. Because success feels good for you and everyone else on your team. And when you get where you want to go, that feels good for more than just a few seconds. You can build upon that success. It can generate momentum for you, your team, your products, your company. Success is not as fleeting as that other stuff. And more importantly, success is about getting where we want to go together. Because everything right now is a group project. Everything. Everything is a group project. No one does anything alone aside from that one guy in Israel who built a whole company by himself and made $1 billion. The rest of us will be working with other humans for the foreseeable future. Other humans are going to be involved in getting the products you build to market, whether they are builders or sellers or anything else in between, service people. And success is getting that team to work together and bring their best selves and have their opinions heard. Because when we work as a team and the voices are heard, success becomes inevitable. And so this is me, Tami from Miami. I've spent a long time in product and technology and consulting. I have seen hundreds of companies, ones that are as big as JP Morgan Chase, and ones that are as small as 2 or 3 people in a startup. And I can tell you that when people work together, and when voices are heard, and when people are moving in the same direction towards a shared vision, success is much more probable. And years ago, I was not as senior as I am right now. I was a product marketing manager at a small ad tech firm in Los Angeles. And there was a hackathon. And hackathons are fun, and the engineers at our hackathon built really cool things. I was amazed. But do you know who wasn't amazed? The panel of judges. Because the panel of judges was made up of the executives from across the company. And they didn't understand the value of what was being built. Or more, they weren't communicated the value. No one shared the value with them. And so I started teaching the engineers something called Life's a Pitch, so that the engineers could learn how to influence other people and share the value of what they were building. And it turns out this Life's a Pitch training is something that I've done with engineers and product managers and design teams. And when I was an executive coach, I was continuously teaching VPs of product and CPOs how to influence better. They're just influencing different people. They're influencing the board, they're influencing their CEO, they're influencing the other executives. The designers are influencing the product team to say, let us be in the meeting earlier, please. Let us be part of those strategic conversations. And I've taught them how to position that request in a way that is valuable to the other people. Because that's what pitching is really about. Helping surface the value of what you want in a way that someone else wants it to. So, I created this thing called mapping out your influence. MAP. Number 1, manifest where you want to go. Draw that picture, draw that vision of the place that you see as a better future than where we are right now. Don't only think about the thing you want to happen, think about all the downstream impacts, all the dominoes that fall into play, because what you want has occurred. Next, A, assess where they want to go. Build empathy for the other side. Better understand what their incentives are, what their vision is, what their goals are. Because without that, you can't do P, which is promoting where we can go together. Finding that Venn diagram of where there's overlap between your vision and their vision. That overlap is the only thing you need to be talking about. I teach a course in mastering influence to maximize impact, and we go deep into a lot of the skills involved in how do you better assess, how do you better cultivate relationships with people, how do you better promote and choose what you're going to promote, how do you do it in a way that gets into people's brains so they want to do it. But I want you to know that this is something that all of us can start learning right now. All of us can start thinking, rather than talking generically about all the benefits of what it is we want, talk on a one-to-one level personally with the engineer, with the designer, with the product manager, with the salesperson, with the service person about what is the benefit to them, specifically in what you're talking about. Because we don't like to be sold to in a generic fashion, and it turns out neither do they. No one likes that. And that's why, if you scan this QR code, you will go to a page where you can download this Mastering Influence map. What I hope you see is that up here, where you're manifesting, it's a singular cell. That vision you create, that's singular. It's one big, wonderful picture. But as you assess different people, they each get their own row because they are individuals. They have different needs, and do not consider the entire sales team homogenous. They're not. Different people will have different needs and different goals and different incentives. And once you have as many cells as you need, you can then start figuring out how to promote, figuring out where that overlap happens. And yeah, It takes time investment. This isn't a short thing, but in the end, you've influenced other people, and they're excited to work with you, and they are motivated to take action, and all of that has happened because you invested this time. And so, I hope the next time you are asking for an investor, or a coworker, or a co-founder, or you're trying to influence someone at work, or you're trying to get a customer to choose your product, or for them to give you a referral, or that you're trying to spread across the globe, or the ever-popular changing of a process. That you think, how can I use influence to make this happen? How can I better share my vision in a way that other people see how it's going to benefit them? How do I put on my sales cap so that I know that I'm selling an idea and that someone has to buy in? Because if they don't buy in, I will not be successful. And as you do this, time after time after time again, you will become a master of influence, and you will maximize your impact, and you will be more successful. And influence will become your superpower. And that would bring me so much joy. So, my final question for all of you is, where do you want to go, and how can influence help you get there? Thank you.